Hello and welcome to the sewing studio. Today I'm going to show you how to make this little quilt, and this is made with charm squares, and this block is called the Hourglass block. So for this project, what you're going to need is a charm pack. Today I'm using a charm pack called Twinkle by April Rosenthal of Prairie Grass Patterns. And the reason I've chosen this one is there's lots of lights and darks, because for this you need a contrast of light and dark fabric for the hourglass to work. You'll also need a rotary cutter, a ruler, some pins and a marker pen or pencil, and I'm using this iron-off pen to mark my blocks, and I'll show you how we do that. So this quilt measures 30 inches square. I've used 36 of the blocks. So the good thing with that is, if there's any that you don't like, if you're using a charm pack, for example, you can pick out your favourite ones. This pattern will work with any square. So it will also work with a layer cake, or you can cut your own squares. So you can cut at 8 inches or 6 inches, whatever you want to do. So I've got this 6 inches by 6 inches, so I've used 36 blocks. I've also cut a border, so you'll need 1 metre of fabric for your border if that's what you want to do, if you want to put a border on it. So this border was cut at 4 inches and it finishes at 3.5. And then I've got a little fillet here, and that was cut at 1 inch. And the matching binding to the fillet was cut at 2.5 inches. And then I just used a white calico to back it, so you'll need about 1 metre of background fabric as well. So let's get started. So we're going to take our charm pack, and this is the best part, is opening it up. I always like this bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to sort this into pairs. So I'm going to consider these as the dark fabrics, and then I'm going to put a light fabric with those, and I'm going to pair them right sides together, so face down. So I'm probably going to consider the pink light, but I'm going to hold on for a minute and see what else I've got. I've got quite a few lights here. But as I say, because I'm only using 36, I can afford to take some out. I'm actually going to swap. I might go with that as a light as well. So I quite like the darkness of those black fabrics. So it's going to take a little while. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shuffle through the fabrics, and you can see what I'm doing. I'm pairing a light and a dark. I'm probably going to consider the pink light, and it will still work. What I don't want to do is have everything against a white fabric, and there's quite a lot of white in this one. So I'm just going to go through and sort these out. So I've paired these up with lights and darks, and I'm just going to line them up. So I've got 2 at a time, and they're face down. And I'm going to draw a line corner to corner, and I'm using an iron-off pen, but you can use a pencil. It doesn't matter, because you're actually going to cut on this line. We're going to be sewing either side of it. So I'm going to mark my blocks. Turn it over so we get an assortment of colours. So just line them up very carefully. You may want to press them together. Sometimes when you've got 2 pieces of fabric, if you want them to hold still, if you press them together, that does help. But I'm just going to line these up very carefully. And again, I'm going to draw my line corner to corner. So I'm going to do that with all of my blocks, and then I'm going to go to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew 1/4 of an inch either side of the line. So I'm just going to do that now. So I'm just going to start off with a little thread catcher, and then I can show you how I'm going to line my block up. So this just makes life a little bit easier. So I'm going to lift the foot and I'm going to line the edge of the foot on this line here. And so I'm sewing 1/4 of an inch away from the line. Now I'm going to chain piece mine, but you may want to do yours individually. So I'm going to offer up the next one, line it up with the edge of the foot and sew down. And I would do that with all of my blocks. And then we're going to come down the other side. So I'm going to just start with my thread catcher again. And this is just a little piece of folded fabric, and it just starts the stitching so that the edge doesn't get caught in the plate on your machine, because sometimes that can happen when you're going from a corner. It would help if I turned it round and went the right way. So you can see that I've gone either side of the line, 1/4 of an inch either side of our centre line. And then I'm going back over to the centre and I'm going to show you how to cut that. So you can see here, there's the drawn line and we've sewn 1/4 of an inch either side of that. So now I'm going to cut on that line. I'm going to put my ruler against the red line that we've drawn. Go corner to corner and cut. And now we're going over to the iron to press those. So I'm going to set the seam. So that's pressing along where we've just sewn. And then what we're going to do is we are going to press our fabric towards the darker fabric. So in this case, the green is going to be the darker one. So we're going to press our seam towards the green. And if we do this with all of the fabrics, if you press towards the darker side, your blocks will work out for you. So you can see here that you've got these two little corners, but don't worry about those. We're going to get rid of those in a moment. So we've got half square triangles here, but what we're going to do to create the hourglass block is we are going to put these back together, but we're going to put the fabric on the opposite side now. So we're going to join them up. And this is why I said about pressing to the darker side, because what we want to do here is we want to butt our seams together so they interlock. So we've got a high side of the fabric where we've pressed onto the dark side, and we're going to push those together. And this is where I'm going to use a pin and just hold that in place at the end, and do the same at the other end, making sure that our seams have nested nicely together all the way down. And then what we're going to do is we're going to draw another line. So you can see here that we've got our dark fabric against our light fabric. So what you don't want to do is put your two darks and lights back together as they were before. So remember to go the opposite way, and you'll know you've got this right because the seams will push together against one another. And then we're going to draw another line. This is where you really need flat-headed pins, because this is why I should use proper quilting pins, because it's flat when you lay your ruler down. So if you're thinking of renewing your pins, make sure you get these lovely flat-headed pins, so that now when I'm putting my ruler on, I haven't got that glass bead pressing against it. So I'm going to draw the line. And I'm going to go back to the sewing machine, and I'm going to do exactly the same, 1/4 of an inch either side of that line. So you can see again that I have stitched 1/4 of an inch either side of that line. So now I'm going to cut that line. And then we're going to the iron. I'm going to iron those open, and you can see that that's what's made our hourglass block. So let's just go to the iron again and set your seam. I'd always encourage you to set your seams, because it does make it neater when you turn it over. You're less likely to stretch the fabric. So you can see that here we have our hourglass blocks. So we've got 2 of these blocks now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry on, and I'm going to make more of the blocks, and then I can show you how to put it all together. So I've sewn the blocks together, and I'm just going to show you now how to lay these out. So as I said earlier, you can see that we've got these little corners. Now, you can take the corners off if you want to, using your rotary cutter. And if you think that your blocks are not quite square, you can always use a ruler to square them off. But I just tend to take a pair of scissors, and I just very carefully snip mine off, hoping that the blocks are square. And then as I lay them out. So the way you lay this out is you take your hourglass, so you can see by the shape of this, so the green is our darker fabric. So you take your hourglass and you do it top to bottom, Then your next hourglass, let's take this one. And as I say, I'm just going to nip the corners off as I go. Your next hourglass, your dark shape goes side to side. And so you keep repeating this. Let's just have a different colour here. So this one, my hourglass is going to go top to bottom. And then my next one, the hourglass, is going to go side to side. So depending how many squares you've got, you would do this. If we were doing it 6 by 6, I would lay all 6 squares this way. But I'm just going to lay this out for you like this. So you would do it for as big as you wanted. So the quilt that we had to start with was 6 blocks by 6. So the next row, we would take our hourglass, which is the dark fabric. And because this row, it goes top to bottom, our next row, it starts side to side. And then we're going to put it top to bottom. Then this one's going to be side to side. And then this one is going to be top to bottom. So you can see how that's laid out. Then our next row, we go back to how we were in row 1 with our hourglass going top to bottom. And then the next one, side to side, top to bottom. Not choose that, that's the wrong colour for there. Side to side. And so you can see that's how we lay the blocks out. So we'll just go back to the original quilt. Just move these out of the way for a moment. And you can see how that's been laid out. So you can see, as I talked about the hourglass, you can see it's going top to bottom, side to side, top to bottom, and then the opposite way in the rows. And it's just a really simple quilting in the ditch and just a framing around the edge here, where we've got the fillet, we've just got a really straight line. This was one I made years ago, so I'm probably much more adventurous with my quilting now. And I think it was probably one of those I needed to get done quickly in time for Christmas. But as I say, it comes out every year and it just sits on the coffee table. And I really love it. And as I say, you can do it with any size square. It works. The trick is to make sure that you've got light and dark fabrics. So as always, have fun. And I look forward to seeing you next time here in the sewing studio.